PACK EXPO East returns to Philly in February of 2026. It's your East Coast connection for packaging and processing solutions. Be there to catch up on the latest industry advances, connect with suppliers, and land on the right solutions for your entire production line, from automation and sustainability to e-commerce and much more. Register today at packexpoeast.com. You're listening to Unpacked with PMMI, where we share the latest packaging and processing industry insights, research, and innovations to help you advance your business. Hi, and welcome to Unpacked with PMMI. I'm your host, Sean Riley. In this episode, we sit down with Nick Haase, co-founder of MaintainX, to discuss how AI is shifting from a buzzword to delivering real, practical value on the manufacturing floor. Things are changing fast. Nick breaks down where it makes a difference, why good data and frontline involvement are essential, and how keeping people informed helps teams roll out AI safely and effectively. Let's have a listen. So with all the fancy introductions out of the way, welcome to the podcast, Nick.
Thanks, Sean, for having me. Excited to be here.
The pleasure is all ours. AI, it's such a hot button topic, obviously. It's everywhere across all industries. Say I'm a manufacturer. Help me decide where AI is going to add value and where it might not necessarily be worth the hassle.
What we're seeing across packaging and CPG plants right now is that AI is kind of moving from this buzzword to being boringly useful. At MaintainX, we're seeing the biggest wins when teams go fix the fundamentals, clean data, clear ownership, workflows that fit real frontline operators. Because the goal isn't that the robots are going to take over maintenance and operations. It's about how do we help get fewer unplanned stops, safer lines, and technology that quietly automates the busy work so that we can help get more throughput, improve quality, and things like that.
I think you guys had some data that 65% of companies said they plan to implement it for maintenance in the next year. Yeah. What are the mistakes that people are making when they are starting to implement it into maintenance?
Yeah, for sure. There's a few barriers we're seeing to adoption around why things are struggling to maybe get out of a pilot phase. They're not thinking about scalability. How is this going to work on a line where we maybe have less information or data? So we're seeing the data quality issues. So the folks that are trying to get around that are working towards standardizing that as asset hierarchies and failure codes, enforcing required fields. Again, some of the boring stuff that's required to give you that foundation that'll let you leverage AI. Start small with one line, 5 to 10 critical failure modes. And if you don't know where those are, go ask the folks on the front line. I promise they will know where the issues are, because bad data is really a people process issue in disguise. And so these are some foundational steps that have to be fixed before you can jump to some fun AI. Other issues with change management, adoption beats accuracy. If people aren't using it, it doesn't really matter. You can't have an AI wizard that sits in a back office that's going to do all this for you. This has to be something that is inclusive of the folks that are actually on the tools and helping them understand how they are going to be involved in that late data loop.
I don't know if a lot of people consider that you need the buy-in from the people that are actually going to be utilizing this. It's not just and you painted a great picture, that there's not just a wizard behind the curtain that's just going to be plugged in and fix everything. There's situations where people have been recording this data for years. A thing I hear all the time now is that there's so much data, but so much of it is not necessarily useful.
Part of it is thinking of co-designing it with shift leads, making them feel like they're engaged. And it's not to say that your line manager or your maintenance manager is going to be an expert in AI. That's not the point. It's around saying, what are some of the challenges that create frustrations or issues for you on a routine basis that maybe we can fold into this process to try to see if there's an opportunity to solve those things. If you can make their life easier, a lot of the frontline folks, they aren't really going to care if your uptime is greater. They don't care if the company makes more money or saves more money. They're like, I get paid this much an hour and there's a labor shortage. You're not going to fire me. So you got to sell them on the things that they do care about, which is, hey, do you hate doing these things every day or not having access to these resources and not feeling supported in these workflows, and help them kind of understand how their lives are going to get better from this technology. And that usually gets them really excited. It's not as big of a lift as it sounds. It's just around making them feel like they're part of the process, and then celebrate those early wins on the floor with them. Make sure that they feel like, hey, because you all were able to help us with these things, it's allowed us to collectively, see these results or get some value out of this. And if you're in a type of organization that has multiple lines, multiple plants, then you can celebrate them in front of their peers and give them some recognition. Say, hey, these folks are helping drive and lead innovation in the business, and here's how you can benefit from some of their lessons and efforts. And again, it goes back to those original leadership principles before AI
Hmm.
as much. And I think people want to try to think, hey, people are the hard part of running a business. If we could
Right.
just automate and
Yeah.
AI everything, but at the end of the day, there's not going to be a light switch moment anytime soon where we're going to wake up and the people are gone and it's all the robots. So you've got to continue to find a way to involve people in those processes to make sure that they're successful. And I see a lot of folks that try to skip that.
Yeah. And you say that kind of tongue in cheek, but that's another thing to make them aware of, is that this is trying to make your job easier, not replace you.
Yeah. And if it's
Yeah.
making their job harder, reconsider what you're trying to do,
Yeah.
because I can tell you that you're pushing a string uphill and it's just not going to work.
Okay. Safety
Yeah.
and reliability crucial in modern manufacturing. So how do we design AI to make sure it's deployed in a way to strengthen safety?
Yeah. It's an important question. It's something we think about really deeply. We've got an AI tool that will tell people it doesn't know if it doesn't have an answer. It won't try to guess an answer. What I think is most important to keep as a first principle is that humans have to be in the loop for any safety critical actions. And so when you're designing any of these systems, it's really important that you have somebody with a safety focused mindset thinking about all the touch points in that loop. It's not to say that they should block things, but it says, hey, maybe for this workflow here, there should be a human that says, yes, that's a good assessment.
Hmm.
Because the AI can give you tremendous advantages, but there are areas where you need to think of AI as like decision support until you validate that over time. That's any automated action that touches anything related to safety or quality. You should be running FMEAs on that and really making sure that you're doing things the right way. Put guardrails on those systems so that there's role-based permissions. You don't want someone who isn't really familiar with the technology that's there to be able to go in and tweak things. If you feel like whatever your automations are doing is putting up your spidey sense, just give them the outlet and the opportunity to voice those concerns and then do something about addressing them in a way that helps them feel heard. Maybe they're wrong and you can help explain to them why, hey, no, it's actually okay. But if they are right, then make sure you also celebrate that. And that'll help, again, going back to that change management piece, helps them feel like they can trust these systems and they'll want to support
Right.
them. It's a little bit of extra work, but at the end of the day, the amount of time savings and efficiency gains you should be having from these systems, these extra little components are still saving you a tremendous amount of time. So it's not adding extra work. It's just helping you validate these systems as they're still in various experimental stages. I can't tell you how many customers I have that have packaging lines that they're twin systems. They bought at the same time and they just won't run the same way.
Yeah.
Treat AI similarly with skepticism that you can't just plug and copy paste. Treat them with a little skepticism, with that kind of human in the loop until you start to validate it and prove it out over time. And that'll help build the trust and validate safety. One thing I like to ask folks is how long will it take us to become AI ready? And that can be years in some scenarios. So you
Right.
do need to watch out for those anomalies, those fluctuations, and not be too laissez-faire with just trying to think, oh, it's going to work and run on its own. Because
Okay.
the liability is unclear sometimes. Who's at fault there? Probably the company that's using it, not as much the vendor.
We've been hyping up the positive things that could be happening with this kind of cautious approach. And I'm wondering, is there such a thing as being too cautious with it? Are we cheating ourselves by not taking advantage of the innovation because we're so concerned with the risk?
I can't tell you how many companies and customers I work with where their company's IT team doesn't allow them to use ChatGPT. It's blocked
Right.
the website. They have no AI GPT policies, all of those things. And
Hmm.
I won't rat people out, but like I walk the plant and I see people with their personal phones taking pictures of stuff and asking personal ChatGPT.
Right.
And people are going to start adopting these tools, whether they're endorsed by their companies or not. That's actually a lot scarier in a number of ways. You want to have, enterprise grade security plans for your team, a place where they can go and put company data in, and it's not going to be put into the free version. It's going into the
The world.
worldwide training model.
Yep.
And we're almost certainly going to start to see scandals come out where sensitive information is going to be exposed through a training model because some employee at some company is putting in data they're not supposed to, and it's
Right.
going to spit back out somewhere where it's not supposed to if it hasn't happened already. And so you want to make sure that you're not being so conservative and restrictive and saying you can't do this. You give them the tools and encourage them to be experimental. When I have folks across different departments and divisions play with ChatGPT, they ask it and try to solve very different problems than I would have ever thought of. And so a lot of companies think they have a good overview of the challenges at the organization, but the questions that the frontline operator asks or the safety person asks or your materials handling folks are all going to be different, and they're all going to provide a unique point of view that AI is going to be able to spit out. So I would say definitely try to encourage them. And part of that responsibility comes with a little bit of training. Help them understand what the dangers or precautions of beyond just not using the free versions because you could link sensitive information. Also recognize that AI is not always right. Sometimes it makes stuff up. So help them understand that it's not gospel, that they should check sources and validate, but use it as a tool to support what you're trying to do, but not as a crutch where you take everything and just copy, paste, go.
This was great. This was a very fair and balanced talk for our audience about some of the things to be cautious about, some of the things to take advantage of. So I want to thank you again for taking time out of your day to come on here with us.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Unpacked with PMMI. If you liked what you heard, be sure to follow or subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen. That way, you won't miss any of the industry insights coming your way. While you're there, we'd really appreciate a rating or review. Want more? Visit pmmi.org/podcasts for all of our past episodes and additional resources. Thanks again for tuning in. I'll see you next time.